welcome to our third episode of Empowerment Unplugged with Vicky Deitch. Today, I have Toby Deitch. No, we're not related.
We're not related.
And she is the owner of Gentle Beginnings. If you are not following her on Instagram, you should definitely go do so. And we're going to talk about the topic of birth education, education in general, and how it can help you empower yourself and make your birth a smoother process. So welcome, Toby, to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored that you asked me to join.
Of course.
We're both birth educators. We're both in the space. And, first of all, I just want to say that you are such an amazing person that I, truly respect. And you're a great resource. When I started out and I had questions, you were always someone that I could lean on. And I feel like now we have this thing going where we can sort of lean on each other on all things birth. And it's just really nice to come full circle and be here and, hopefully make an impact, because the whole point is to help more people and maybe open some people's eyes to see what birth can look like, how it can really be something that can be special and powerful and transformative, instead of something that's just you have to push through it and you have to run away from,
100%.
So that's the goal.
I actually had a birth yesterday that was beautiful. A woman who was struggling for infertility for over 4 years had her baby, and she said her biggest fear was always birth. She never wanted to give birth.
Yeah.
And she's like, Vicky, I never imagined in a million years my birth could be so calm, so nice. She's like, this wasn't so bad.
I know.
And I was like, yeah, this is exactly why I started doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, not everyone, are raised to fear birth, be scared of birth. Birth is scary. I have to run, go take epidural, because of the fact that it's scary and it's unknown.
Right.
Versus now we have this beauty and this power that we have social media, and we have the resources that we're trying to remind women that, no, you have the power, take the power back. And whether you're medicated, unmedicated, whatever it is, even C-section clients. I've had C-section clients that hired me as a doula, and you could think, well, what does a doula do in that aspect? Or why do you need birth education in that aspect? It's because there's so much that we could do in a C-section room to make the setting exciting. And
I'm so happy that you brought this up, because I think that it's so important to have balance. And, when the way that we've been raised, many of us, is just by hearing these scary stories from our sisters, from our mothers, from the media, right? Because no one is going around telling their positive birth stories, because it's not interesting. And also you're not going to get any views, and no TV shows are going to sell when you're just showing this beautiful calm birth. They want the screaming, the yelling, and these are the images that little girls have stored in their mind. And then when they get older and they get pregnant, this is something that they truly fear. And they don't even give themselves a chance of succeeding. They're already catastrophizing that they're going to have the worst experience. They wouldn't be so lucky as to have a positive experience like that one story that they've heard. But the truth is that most of the time, women are so capable of giving birth in a very positive, empowered way. And again, regardless of the journey that the birth takes, even if it's not, the ideal journey that they wanted. But most women don't even give themselves the chance. They don't even give themselves the option, hey, maybe this can happen for me. Maybe I could actually have a beautiful experience. And I have women that sometimes come to me, and it's truly such an honor when, they trust me to, be a part of their journey. And they tell me, I've had already 7 babies. And, I'm hearing this chitter chatter on the street that birth can be, so nice. The birth can be nice. And I never experienced it. I've had 7 babies. Maybe there's something I don't know. And initially, when I started working with these women, I did have a little bit of doubt in myself, right? Just being so transparent. Who am I to tell them what birth can be like? They've done it more times than me. But then I talk to them and they're like, wow, I had no idea. There's so many ways that we can make birth beautiful. But the first the first step is the mindset. Like, where's your mind at? What are the stories? What are the messages that you're telling yourself?
And how are we viewing birth?
Right. And, this is, a very big part of what I teach is the mental part, right? There's so much information and knowledge on the physical part of labor, what's happening in your body, the stages of labor, even how to breathe. And there's also some conversations on the emotional part, hormonally, like what's happening, how are you feeling, hormonally, but there's not a lot of conversation about what's happening in the maternal brain. So with neuroscience, we learned that there's an area in the mother's brain. It's called the MPOA, and it's called the medial preoptic area. It's located in the hypothalamus in the brain. You don't need to know where that is. But the point is that part of the brain is going through rapid changes in preparation for motherhood. Because I always say that birth was designed to work from year one, not 2025, right? And birth, as a general rule, needs to work for the survival of the species, right? And therefore, we need to have mothers prepared to receive their babies and bond with their babies and nurture the babies, even if there's no midwife or doctor or doula around, right? Again, birth was designed to happen when there was no one there. Of course, we're so lucky and grateful that we have these people around us because it just makes it so much better. But that medial preoptic area, that MPOA, is going through rapid changes so that a mother can recognize her baby when her baby is born, that her baby smell is familiar to her. Every single baby has their own, scent, and that mother recognizes
everything is connected
because of all those changes happening in the brain. And that's why mothers are sometimes scatterbrained and they don't remember things in pregnancy because your brain is only focused on what's important right now, which is your baby's survival.
Correct.
So because of all these changes that are happening rapidly, your brain is also very vulnerable. And there's so much research, and I'm not going to get into it because it takes like 4 lessons in my class. But the idea is that your brain is flexible and you have the capacity to change your brain physically. Like if you would take a brain scan, you could see differences before and after doing brain training that help that your brain should, we want mothers to be more logical, more rational, more grounded, and less, nervous and anxious and fearful. The benefits of doing this, this brain training and training your brain and helping you be more grounded is not necessarily for you to have an unmedicated birth. Every single mother comes with a different goal.
Exactly.
Some mothers come with the goal that they just want to be calm. Another mother just wants the goal that she actually does want to go unmedicated. And I meet every mother where they are at, whatever their journey is. The goal is that your nervous system should be regulated, that whatever happens, whatever comes your way, you should be able to handle it. Because as you know, birth is very unpredictable, right? As much as we plan, sometimes things take a turn. But when birth is we call it the butter births, when everything goes exactly as planned, amazing. You're in your zone, you're laboring, you're doing so well. And you're coping so well. All your training comes into play, your tools, your doula is shining because you're just doing so well. But what happens when something goes off?
Exactly.
And suddenly you have a huge stress response. You're feeling a ton of adrenaline, a ton of cortisol, and you're suddenly having this panicky moment. And a lot of times when mothers aren't prepared, or let's say, for example, let's talk about the epidural is not working. If you're not prepared and you've put all your hope on your epidural or on your doula, that everyone else is going to save you, or that when something's going to go off the rails, someone else is going to save you, then everyone around you is just doing damage control. Right? Trying to get you to
and it's a lot harder to do.
It's so much harder. But if a mother comes in prepared and ready, then whatever happens, whatever her birth journey looks like, then everyone around her can shine because they are able to truly do what they are trained to do.
100%.
Her doula can do the counter pressure and turn on the essential oils and the lights and everything. And she's not just busy trying to get this mother to stay grounded. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I always say no two births are the same. No two people are the same. And what the wants and needs of one doesn't necessarily work with others. So when I always hear of certain women who are like, oh, but how did she do it naturally? Or they assume that I'm going to only be pro-natural because I'm holistic minded. I'm very pro home birth, safe home birth, and all these things. It's like, oh, but what happens if I am going to listen to everything my doctor says, or I am going to do epidural, or I am, and that's okay, because back to the brain, we want to make sure our moms are calm, cool, collective, and their anxiety is low.
Yeah.
And we want to boost our oxytocin levels. We want to boost the correct hormones to the body and not have the flight and fight response and all these other hormones raging.
Right.
So by doing so is we have to get to know each and every client and what is their wants and needs. And that's something that when I first met you and what attracted me to recommending you to people, when people were like, oh, it's because it's related to you. No, it's not related. But what you provide for your birth education is a little bit different than what I provide. What I provide is couples classes, individual one-on-one classes in person, but it's a one-time course to understand everything you need to know, especially for the people who don't have time to do multiple classes. And then there's some people that do both of our courses that really want to go through the whole experience, and then they come back and have that one-on-one course with their husband, with me. But no two people are the same, and we have to train our brain that it's not only all holistic or all natural, and it's okay if you do epidural or, like you said, there's many times that women and I've seen it, where they only focus on the natural and they're planning this beautiful birth center birth. And then what happens when their water breaks way ahead of time? They're not getting contractions. Their midwife is trying everything under the sun. But unfortunately now we're going to have to take you to the hospital. We're going to have to do an induction, and they're almost lost. And it's almost traumatizing for them because I didn't plan this. In my head, I was going to have that beautiful home birth. I'm going to have that beautiful birth center birth. It's going to be in the tub and everything's going to go smooth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always go like that.
Right.
And that's where you come into play, where in your education, you're teaching them what happens when that happens.
Right.
And when you're empowered and you understand what's happening to you, it makes it a little less scary.
Yeah, for sure. I try to prepare the mothers as much as possible for every possible scenario. What happens if your baby comes at home? Because I've had that a few times. What happens if your baby comes in the car? What happens if you need a C-section? How can you make that better for yourself? And, as much as we know the evidence and we know, we have our own opinions on what we want, we can never impose our own bias onto other people.
Right.
And
we cannot always control our own selves. If I want a beautiful home birth, then if it ends up in a twin pregnancy or high risk or something, you're not eligible for that, and it's not safe to do at home. And then what?
Right. So I think that there's something about just taking a step back and looking at the mother as the full picture and seeing what does she want for her birth. Because what the research shows again and again is that it's not necessarily always about the mode of birth, but the mindset. The way the mother's mindset is transcends how she has given birth. Most of the mothers, if you have a positive experience, that will influence how your postpartum goes, that's huge. Such an important key, right? Preparing is not only for the birth itself, but what's coming after. Birth happens, it's a couple hours, maybe a couple days. But once you have your baby, what happens next, right? And the way that your birth, the way that your birth transpires has a massive effect on how your postpartum goes.
It's like what I say, it's almost like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
When it comes to things. And my job as a doula and our jobs as a birth educator, that even if an intervention is needed, or even if something doesn't always go as 100% as planned, we're there to hold that snowball on the top of the mountain. Because once that gets let go, it's a cascading, bigger snowball.
Right.
And like you said, yes, the birth happens, but now comes postpartum, and that snowball is still rolling and getting bigger, and the emotions and these things, and it really affects the woman, sometimes even long term, or
100%. And I love this metaphor of the snowball, because it's, when we talk about the cascade of intervention, right? Many times we go into, birth, and when we come unprepared, there are certain things that are offered, and not from malicious intent, right?
Right.
I always say the last thing I want to do is replace your fear of birth to the fear of your provider or your nurses or the hospital, 100%. Right? The idea is when we go to our place of birth, we are trusting them to have our best, interest at heart.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, hospitals are businesses, they're systems, and they need to run on a system. But when a mother comes in prepared and educated, then she can advocate for herself, and she knows, that once she agrees to a certain intervention, that can lead to even more interventions, and knowing the risk, knowing the benefits, knowing when an intervention is actually a solution. Sometimes we're so grateful to be in 2025 and we have these, interventions available that are life-saving, right?
100%.
And there's also something to say about some mothers just want to go with the flow. They don't want to put up a fight. But coming in knowing, just understanding that you are empowered and you're not this vulnerable, help me, save me, energy, it will have a ripple effect on how the people around you treat you, coming in with a birth plan. It's so important. And again,
that's where
we're just talking in a nutshell.
Exactly.
Right. There's so much to say, and I could talk about it, all day. So when I teach my classes, I divide my classes in 4. And the first part is the foundation, which is our mental preparation. And the way I describe
basically going down to the core of it's not just about the breathing exercises.
So the biggest exercise that you need to
is your brain. Refocusing our mind that birth is not scary, birth is not an emergency, birth is not medical. And I find that also because we were so taught, run to the hospital or run to we automatically assume that we're being saved from something when birth is not a medical emergency. It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
And yes, we do have some symptoms that I always have to sometimes remind my clients that in a typical scenario, so it's really, really retraining our brain.
Right.
That in real life, nausea, diarrhea, cramping, bleeding, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me.
Right.
But those are very normal things when it comes to labor.
Right.
Feeling pressure. So it's no, I'm okay. This is okay. Pain is purposeful. Pain is, there's a reason why I'm having that.
Right.
When we reframe our mind and reframe our brain, and that's one of the reasons why even in hospital setting, I teach my clients to, and I bring my bag full of stuff to create the hospital into a more calming atmosphere with my essential oils, lighting. We regain that control of the room.
Right.
Even switching a simple thing. I always tell clients, bring your own calming, cozy hospital gown.
Right.
Don't wear the light hospital gown that makes you feel like a patient, that has your whole backside open and you're busy trying to cover up your butt.
For sure.
By reframing that, even I see with the nurses and the hospital staff, they automatically, it's a normal thing, your brain starts getting calmer, your voices start getting lower, your oxytocin is flowing, you are reclaiming yourself that this is a beautiful thing. Birth, I'm in a safe place because I need to be here for whatever reason, or I am where I am and I have the right people that are at my side.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with me.
Right. I talking about the metaphor with a snowball, I sometimes talk about the snow globe, right? When we have a snow
globe. I have the snowball and you have
the snow globe. You shake it up, but in the center there is a little house that is solid and that's not moving. And sometimes scenarios look like that when you have so much going on around you. But if your mind is in the right place, then you can handle whatever comes your way. And that's why the mental part is so important. Talking about hormones, right? The hormones that are needed for positive labor are oxytocin, endorphins, melatonin, prostaglandins. Those are really good hormones that we want. And many times you'll talk to 2 different women and one woman is going to say, I had an unmedicated labor. It was the worst pain I've ever felt. I don't know why anyone in the right mind would choose it. And then you talk to another woman and she's like, I had the most empowering experience.
Exactly.
I just had a mother today that she had a 12-hour labor and she loved it. She was like, I loved my birth. What gives? What makes one mother
so much more?
And the difference is, are you having an adrenaline hormone or an adrenaline labor, or are you having an oxytocin-filled labor? And that makes all the difference. And the reality is that when you go into the hospital, 98% of women give birth in the hospital, right? Hospitals are, beeping machines, people coming in and out of your room, the sterile scent, that environment, that does everything opposite than safety, right? Doesn't make you feel safe. It makes you feel like you're sick, like you're a patient.
And when typically when a person goes to the hospital, that goes back to what I was saying. Like the things that we are normally considered an issue. Yeah. Now it's like, you don't go to the hospital unless there's something wrong. Right. You don't get poked and prodded and get blood work and IV and machines unless if everything is safe. So we sort of have to it's a really hard thing to do. So what it's not easy. So what to reprogram the brain to.
So if you're going into the hospital and you're getting all these messages, all you think about your five senses, your eyes, what are you seeing? You're seeing that bright fluorescent, synthetic lighting. You're having that, the sounds, the beeping sounds, the smell, right? It's just not the right environment. That's signaling to your brain, I'm not safe right now. And we, looking at the deer in the backyard or the horses and the, all the mammals in the world, when they feel that they're not safe, labor will stop. And many times women have the same thing. If they don't feel safe, labor will feel more painful because your body's you need to get away from the scary bear. It's as if you're, it's that fight and flight. So we need to hack your hormones to help you have a better experience. And that's what both of us do. Right. Especially you do it, actually in person with your clients. And I always tell my clients I work very closely with doulas that I fully can vouch for them, that I would be, so willing to have at my own births. And, you are, someone that I often recommend because, the way that you show up, how are you setting up your room for yourself? But the number one thing is your brain, because many times you don't have that time to set up your room. And many times things just go with, where is your mind at? So that's what we do in brain training, which we physically change the brain with, exercises. Like you go to the gym, we train your brain like a muscle. It's the biggest marathon that you need to train for. It is. No one would show up to a marathon without training before. Right. And usually when you're at the end of the marathon, your thighs are burning, you want to give up, but that's usually when your baby is literally moments away. So it's just there's just so much to talk about. But the biggest thing for me is I feel like the mindset. The second thing we talk about is physical, right? How can you get your baby in a good position? Which is major. Huge, right? People just lay on their, backs all pregnancy, which I totally understand because I did that.
It's not fun. I always tell people from today till tomorrow. I give every 9th month and my clients, they have their regimen of all the things that I have them to do. And I was I know it's not fun because trust me, if I had to do it, I probably would also have a hard time doing it. Right. I'm not one of those that I enjoy going to gym. No, I know. I have a gym membership and it stays like that. And I hope for the best. Right. I go once or twice as needed. But, no, not even as needed, because as needed, I need to go. But what I'm saying is that it's hard. Yeah. It's not easy. But it cuts off so much. And I see such a huge difference when I have clients that go through all the steps and work on their brain, work on themselves, work on the power, and prepare themselves, do the mile circuit, doing their daily exercises. And when they do those things, when it comes to labor itself, it cuts off so much because how does back labor happen? Right. I always tell people when they take my class, they're shocked how so many things are connected, even lactation, even baby's position, even labor delivery. Right. When we focus on ourselves and how we work from the get-go.
It makes such a difference.
It's all aligned. So if baby's in the right position, then right away, you don't have the back labor. If baby's aligned nice and low and your cervix is nice and soft, when you do have labor and contractions, it's going to go faster. If you train your body and you're doing things prior, I can't tell you how many times these moms, when they call me, they're already going into those positions that they've been practicing
instinctively
without even me having to tell them to do so. Right. And that goes back to also our bodies were made for this. Yeah. We need to use those hormones. And on top of that, because our body was made for this, we women almost have to, and it's hard to trust ourselves.
When I always use this comparison with mammals, with all other animals in the wild. If you look at different animals in the wild, do they take birth classes or learn how to breathe in labor or work on getting their babies in a good position? No, they instinctively do this just like, you digest your food or go to the bathroom or any other function in your body. So too does your body give birth. You know, the same body that grew your baby for 40 weeks knows how to birth that baby, right? We suddenly lose
100%.
trust when it comes time to,
And we have to listen to our bodies.
the difference between mammals and human beings is that we have our thinking mind, and our thinking mind gets in the way, and we start doubting ourselves. It's as if we feel like we need to have a degree to know how to give birth to our babies. And that's why we're relying on everyone around us to tell us what to do. But really, all the power is within
us.
All the intuition is there. Everyone else around is there to
just
support
reassuring.
you. Right. The best, you know, when you look at providers that have really great outcomes, especially when you look at midwives, you'll see most of them take a hands-off approach. They stand off to the side
and they
observe the mother. They observe the mother in a way that the mother feels safe. She doesn't feel like she's invaded. And then a mother can get into a position that feels right for her. Like when you have period cramps, right? One woman is going to be sprawled out on the couch. With another person with her heating pad, another person's going to be, another person's going to be curled up in a ball, but no one,
and then somebody else may not even have experienced any cramps.
For sure.
It just proves that no two women are the
person
same.
Is different. When you're in labor, no one needs to really tell you what positions to get into. When do we need that help? When our mind acts up and we're suddenly lost and it's like, help me, save me, what do I do? And that's why it's so important to have a doula to like be that grounding force and to be able to reassure you and bring you back to your own wisdom.
I find that women sometimes just need that gentle reminder and that gentle grounding.
Like you got
So it's not as a doula that I'm telling her what to do. It's almost just like a reminder of like, honey, like let's switch positions. Because sometimes when we're in the zone, we don't 100% remember or do certain things. But then once they get that little reassurance, they get back into it.
It's that big sister or that mother figure that's there to like reassure you and remind you that you have that power and you don't need anyone. As a general rule, most of the time, women just need to move around freely, be able to get into positions that feel right for them and give birth to their babies uncomplicated, right? The problem is that we've learned to for generations, it's all about like, let's trust the doctor. Doctor knows best. I feel like in COVID that a little bit shifted, that people started to doubt it. And there's a middle ground, like there's a balance to, when to know, like, right now we are grateful for that provider to be able to help us out. But as a general rule, like I know we talked about like, when things go off plan, but I want mothers to know that most of the time, everything works exactly as it should. Right? We want you to be prepared for everything you need, but 80% of my clients don't feel the need to have an epidural. They are just in their zone. They're having a great time. And if they do end up with the epidural, the goal is always a positive experience. And, thank you, Hashem. As a general rule, you got this. You're so powerful. No one needs to tell you how to birth your baby. All you want to have is an amazing team around you to help you remain in that zone and to protect your space.
I remind you that just like in anything in life, you need to have cheerleaders on your side that are supporting you.
Right.
That's with any job.
Going back to the marathon, you need that coach to cheer you on.
People on the side saying, you got this.
Yeah.
And that is what every person in the birth room is supposed to be there for, is I'm here, but I'm here for you. And that goes back to also the providers you mentioned about providers, having that provider that really cares for you and looks at you as a person and not as just another individual, like, let's just get this over with. And there's amazing providers out there, very little, but there are amazing providers out there. And starting from the get-go of having that good provider on your side that is there for you, that looks at you as an individual, because no two people are the same.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we're getting the care we need based off of our emotions, our background, our feelings, our anxieties, everything that we have.
Mind, body, and soul.
Exactly. And then while we're at it, having that good doula at your side, having that good, like all the pieces in place have a different approach to create that safety net, all to cheerlead around you that you can do this, you're powerful, and you could birth this baby.
Yeah. And something I I talk about a lot is that, for your doctor or for the nurses, this is something that they have every single day, right? They have every day they're seeing births. But for you in this moment, in this day is the only day that you will be giving birth to this baby. And you deserve to have a special day. And you deserve to, everyone should pay attention to you. You should be the queen, right? Everyone should be like looking at you like, wow, look at this woman. Look how amazing she is. Look what her body is doing, and respect that. And try to make it the best for you. So you deserve to take up space in this day. You deserve to advocate for yourself, which is, again, understanding, advocating in advance, knowing the questions to ask, knowing the common interventions. And also when it comes to postpartum, like, I think this is such an important conversation, and we talk about this a lot, like you and me. And postpartum can look very different for every single person. Is different. Everyone's situation is different. Their support system, what their family setup is like. But the way that you prepare yourself in pregnancy has such a ripple effect in how your postpartum looks like. And when it comes to postpartum, it's not like now you have a baby and you just have to like bounce right back, right? We live in a world where most women, have their baby. Maybe they go away for 1 to 2 weeks to like Ash's or they go to their mothers if they're lucky. And then they come home and they're just expected to just, continue cooking dinner and, sending the kids off to school and just like be a normal person again, be a member of society, right? Go shopping, just go bounce right back. But the thing is, it was never ever like this, right?
Right.
Like it's a very new concept that we have this isolation, that women come home and then they're isolated. They don't have this like support system, this village in place, right? We used to live with, our mothers, our grandmothers, our sisters, our friends. They were there in the good times and the hard times. We raised each other's children, and then suddenly, you have your baby. People gave you dinner and held you and supported you, gave you the.
And that goes back to what happened back in the days. I actually had a beautiful Chinese couple that as a client, and she told me something so beautiful, and I love this tradition, where for 30 days she does not leave her house,
right?
And her mother comes, and her mother-in-law comes, and they cook up a storm,
right?
And for a whole month, all the family have traditional recipes that basically help the postpartum mom heal, and that's all. This is what they do, and I thought it was so beautiful, and I was like, this is back to tradition and back to what they used to do probably in the older days,
throughout
where
the world.
Everyone helped each other and brought food and made sure that you had the proper nutrients and have all this stuff. And I thought it was so beautiful to hear that. Like, we almost lost ourselves to try to make ourselves like, and I find that this is where social media could have pros and cons because people learn things.
Right.
But people will go and put on a full face of makeup and wigs. And I've had moms like, oh my goodness, I didn't do my nails yet, like for the picture. Or let me go put on a full face of makeup to have my baby. So, because that's what they've seen on social media, this woman holding this baby and looking so beautiful with her long sheitel and her high heels. That's not realistic. Right. That's not what's happening. Yeah. And you're thinking you're making the public feel good, not realizing you're hurting yourself and you're hurting so many more people around you because women are thinking this is the norm and this is how I should look.
It was never supposed to be
and
like that.
Then other people, like husbands, who don't understand always the full aspect, and that's why I love my class, that husbands get to come and learn privately and ask their questions.
Right. By the way, I do want to...
This is normal.
Yeah. First of all, I do want to mention that I do sometimes meet with couples over Zoom. Yeah, right. I do Zoom classes with couples because this is something I talk about this all the time. Like, the fathers are also such an important role.
They're a huge role.
A huge role. And
people
it's so
assume
important.
that it's just the lady. And like, there's so many, I always say in the community, when people are like, why don't you do the group classes or whatever? It's like, there's so many amazing birth educators out there doing that.
Yeah.
But it's all for the women. And there's none really for the husband. There is, but I'm saying there's a few of us. But where is that? Who is the man talking to? Who is he bouncing off his ideas to? What is information normal or not normal? Yeah. I've had scenarios where not even talking about birth, where these husbands come in so well prepared because they're learning counter pressure, they're learning all these stuff. I don't be like, I'm the doula, this is what I'm doing. I allow the husband to feel powerful in that moment too and be involved.
I always say the husband is the biggest oxytocin pusher.
100%.
He doesn't need to do anything. He just needs to be there.
100%.
Just being present.
And being involved.
Yeah. And sometimes involvement can just mean standing there.
Yes.
Sometimes it means just bringing water.
Or bringing water,
like,
ice.
It's just like
telling her that she's okay.
Yeah, you know, like sometimes the husbands feel a little bit like helpless. The partners feel helpless. Like, well, what is my role here? But I find
they're not helpless when they learn.
When they learn, there's a lot
because then they feel powerful because they understand what's happening. But if they're personally lost or in their head, they have that fear and they're not sure what's happening.
Yeah.
Many times it boils off because he almost has like a detachment to the wife versus if he knows what's happening, whether he's hands-on or not hands-on, he's still involved because he's emotionally available for his wife and he's emotionally available to say, hey, honey, you're doing such a good job and how are you feeling and what's going on and what could I bring you? Yeah. Because he's involved.
Right. And I see it a lot that like sometimes women have this like fear before, like, I don't know if my husband's not like really the type to like be giving me the affirmations or whatever. There's no one size fits all. And every relationship is so different and so complex. But just to let him know before, like, this is just one thing. All I need is for you to be present. Just you being there makes such a difference. Of course, you know, if he wants to learn and be involved, then there's so much that they can do. Not just like, you know, there's so much that your partner can do to support you in labor. Going back to the postpartum, you know, like the traditions, right? Yeah. Again, we're going to have like a part 2, part 3, part 4. Yeah. Gotta meet up in Starbucks. But basically, we're not a lost case. Just because we live in 2025 and women are isolated, even though you're living in a big complex with 500 families and you have nothing with each other, or you just like, you know, smile and put the kids together on the bus, it doesn't mean that it has to be like that. And, you know, class number 4 with me is we basically set you up for postpartum. We talk about nutrition. And we go back to the traditional foods, to the traditional foods, warmth. We talk about how to build your village. If you don't have that village, you need to have sometimes build it yourself. What's your postpartum plan going to be? You know, it's not only about what's your birth plan, what's your postpartum plan? You know, like you're not, and you know.
So back to that, I always tell, when I'm doing my class, I explain it I'm very visual, very realistic in regards to the husband. So, because sometimes if the husband just knows what baby blues are, what's the difference between baby blues, postpartum depression, so then they could help their wife if they see certain inklings of things, or the wife itself. But what I find is I like to give a mashal or parable of a woman who has a broken leg. A woman who has a broken leg, no one is going to expect her to get up and greet her guests. Like, you would tell her, no, sit down, because she's sitting there with her leg up, and you're like, don't move, right? A husband who sees his wife with a broken leg, same thing. He's not expecting her to get up and do things. Many times, we assume the woman is not, just because her baby came out, and we talk all about pregnancy, we forget about the healing process. And just because it's not physical, doesn't mean it's not there. Yeah. And to expect women to get up and greet our guests or get up and just be, even by the way, and I find it all the time, when women regress in their recovery, it's always after a bris, after a opinion event, after a major event, and they're throwing these massive parties and they're in their high heels and without even realizing they're getting up and they're greeting people instead of sitting down and people coming to them. Right. But if she had a broken leg, no one would. Everybody would all come to her and be like, do you need help? What do you need? No, don't get up. I'll bring you the food. I'll bring you the drinks. And that's how we almost have to visualize it, because our bodies are healing. And that goes back to also the nutrition. I've had a scenario where a woman called me up. Her milk supply was totally lost. She was on a diet. She was not eating well. And they don't realize, wait, no, you're still eating for 2. You're still A, recovering, B, still eating for your baby, because in order for you to have a good milk supply, now you got to actually eat well. Yeah. One salad a day is not going to cut it for you.
Yeah.
So
also, I think that people are really kind and they bring these elaborate, like razzles and danishes, which is so good. And like, who doesn't love some chocolate? But really what your body needs postpartum is
protein,
like warm, fresh food,
good food,
warm soup, like nutritious food, just to restore your iron levels, your blood sugar, your nervous system. Like it has, and also I think it's also another thing that's really important is to get some sunshine.
Yeah.
Even if it's the winter, like go out with a hat and coat just for 5 minutes, walk around and get some sunshine. Obviously not when you're freshly postpartum, but like open the window, get some sunlight in. Yeah, your porch. Sun is medicine. Like it just helps so much. And when we're locked inside, we're called the indoor generation. Like we don't get sunlight and it all has such a ripple effect. So what we're trying to do is to stack the odds in your favor of having a positive experience. Pregnancy, postpartum, and things that you can do is nutrition, making sure you have the right support, making sure that you are caring for yourself properly and that you are, doing all these traditional healing things that we're trying to bring back, that I'm trying to incorporate for my clients, like, belly binding and wrapping your baby and, just keeping yourself really warm, fuzzy slippers, like you need a lot of warmth in postpartum just to like help yourself heal. But then also, if you've done all the things and you're doing the nutrition and you're still taking your prenatal vitamins and you're still not feeling right, then that's okay. Because there are some things that are out of our control, and that's our hormones. And that is sometimes we don't have the proper support. And that's when reaching out for help is so great. And that's why it's really good to have a relationship with someone throughout your pregnancy. So then you feel safe, like, okay, I can reach out to her again. But if you don't have that support, there are people that you can reach out to and there's support out there. And sadly, you're far from the only one that's dealing with it. Way too many women are dealing with this silently. They are not speaking up because they think that they are the only one.
It's going to affect them.
Yeah. And
or people will judge them.
Yeah. But, this is not like being, cheesy or cliche, but so many women are going through this alone, silently, and they're suffering.
And it makes it so much harder.
You don't need to suffer. You don't need to suffer.
You don't have to feel like there's something wrong with you, or you did something wrong, or you didn't prepare yourself enough.
Right.
Because many times it's not that. I was like, you would never tell a woman who's going through infertility or who has PCOS, oh, you must have not done something right, or be upset at her that she needs help to get pregnant.
Right.
Sometimes people need just a little bit of help, but if we don't get them the help, that's where things escalate and goes back to the snowball effect, where it could become really bad. And there's not that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's just that you just needed that little extra help. And that's okay if you need that extra help.
I had a mother, like, just to give you an example, that, she was, she had a difficult time postpartum and she reached out to the proper support. And we have some amazing organizations in our community. We're really, really blessed.
Tikvasenu is one of them.
Tikvasenu is one of them. Wherever you are and whichever community you're at, there is help out there. You can always talk to your provider. You can always reach out to your doula, whether you've hired Vicky or not. I know that she speaks with people all the time, even if she didn't support them in pregnancy. And Vicky is a great resource.
Your birth educators.
Yeah. So, so this mother was really, going through a difficult time, and she reached out to one of these incredible organizations. And you would think from an outsider perspective, okay, they're going to send her, she should get medication and then she'll get better. But no, instead they made her get blood work. And what they found was that her thyroid levels were completely off the charts. She needed to get medicated for her thyroid, and then she was able to feel better, because your thyroid levels really affect how your nervous system, your mental health. And then she felt so much better. She felt a relief. Not always is it black and white. Sometimes there's a deeper issue. Are you, deficient in any vitamins? Are you lacking, are you anemic? Sometimes you do need a little bit of that support, that, I call it vitamins, like just to replenish, that hormonal imbalance.
Or sometimes you just need a nap and you need someone to take over the baby for a good 6 hours.
Let the mother sleep.
Because between the pain and the regular and being sleep deprived,
yeah,
it's a whole conjunction.
Oh, yeah,
it's a lot.
It's so not black and white. There's a full picture when we look at postpartum, and
we just have to boil down to what it is.
Yeah,
so we could solve the.
We can help you get to a better place. We got so much to talk about, and we can talk all day.
Exactly.
But I feel like, just the bottom line is that get prepared, get educated.
Knowledge is power.
Wherever you are, if this is your first baby or if this is your 10th baby, it doesn't matter. You deserve to have a good experience. You deserve to have an experience full of ease. And reach out to Vicky because she's wonderful. And
Toby.
Yeah.
And we're here to support you.
As women, we should be holding each other up. We should be lifting each other up.
We should go back to our core that we're actually very powerful.
Yeah.
We have it in us. We are meant for this. We got this.
Yeah.
And let's just change one birth story at a time. You could have that experience. Epidural, C-section, natural, home, no matter what it is, you can create that beautiful experience for yourself as well.
Right.
Birth is beautiful. Birth is something that is literally a miracle. No one could say otherwise. And we look forward to hearing positive birth stories. Yeah. And if we could change even one person's birth story, then we know we did our job.
Yeah, and I just want everyone to remember that you do not need to have a degree to know how to birth your baby. All that power is within you, and you got this.
So to end off this episode, we could be here all day.
Truly can.
Yes. Is you are powerful. Your birth can be beautiful, and we have to trust our bodies and ourselves. Let's empower ourselves. Let's get educated, and let's make sure that we have the best experience that we can. The same way we do tons of research for bugaboos, and we do tons of research on the best car seat, and we spend all kinds of money for the best Vachnach and Shabbos Kiddush and the best party planners, and we would never go into a party without a fancy party planner or making sure that we know what we're doing. We got to go back to the core and say, we deserve this. We deserve to have a positive birth experience. It's not just about your baby, although birth is about your baby as well. So if that helps you, then think about your baby as well. It is worth it to spend money on yourself to have that positive experience, because what's going to make you a better mother and a better person is having that positive experience. So you deserve this. You should have it. And you can have it if you just empower yourself with the right resources. If you haven't been following Toby,
go ahead
on Instagram,
gentlebeginnings_NY.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us for more. If you have any subjects, questions, anybody you think would be great for this podcast, we are talking about real subjects, no taboo, nothing. You are watching Empowered Unplugged with Vicky, where we have real strength, real talk, and no fluff. Have a great day.